Real Madrid are incredibly ruthless. If you don't immediately hit the ground running or are the profile of player your manager no longer wants, you are discarded without notice. It doesn't matter if you're an established superstar or a promising young player, Real Madrid will show no mercy. Fernando Morientes was one of those players. Despite scoring 100 goals for Los Blancos and leading them to 3 Champions League titles, he was deemed nothing more than a waste of space when the Galacticos era came around. But instead of accepting defeat, he bit back and embarrassed Real Madrid when they should have been at their greatest, and this is how he did it. In the summer of 2002, Real Madrid was in the middle of the Galacticos era, a period where Los Blancos made seemingly endless superstar signings. They had recently signed Ronaldo Nazario for a record 46 million euros, which fueled rumors that Morientes would soon be leaving. However, the Spaniard decided to stay and prove his worth. But as predicted, he did not feature as much as preferred forwards Ronaldo and Raul. He eventually fell down the pecking order of strikers and only made 28 appearances in all competitions, with most being substitutes. This was sad to see, considering Morientes was a top-class striker. He came through the Albacete Academy and debuted for the first team at 17 in 1993. His outstanding performances earned him a move to fellow La Liga side Real Zaragoza in 1995. After hitting 34 goals in 79 games in 2 seasons for an uninspiring bottom-half La Liga side, Real Madrid snapped him up for 6 million euros. And it would prove to be an absolute bargain. Morientes immediately became Real Madrid's star striker for the next 5 seasons, scoring 100 goals and bagging 34 assists in 272 games. He led Real to 2 La Liga titles, a Spanish Super Cup, 2 Intercontinental Cups, and 3 Champions League titles. Additionally, El Moro had been a reliable performer for the Spanish national team. When he retired from international duty in 2007, he ranked 4th in Spain's all-time top scorers list, with 27 goals in 47 appearances. Quick, creative, and incredibly hardworking, Morientes was one of the best all-round forwards in the world in his prime. Capable of playing as a lone striker or in a strike partnership, the Spaniard possessed clever movement, using his intelligence to find gaps in between the defense, always being in the perfect position to put the ball in the back of the net. This made him a true fox in the box, always knowing when and where to be. He also possessed a lethal finish with either foot and was a brilliant header of the ball, always somehow finding the back of the net. So it made no sense why Real Madrid was so reluctant to get rid of him. Morientes was crushed and his self-confidence was shattered. At the start of the 03-04 season, it was evident that Morientes was not part of Real's plans and was loaned out to Liga side AS Monaco. I knew it was going to be a very difficult season for me. I looked for various options across Europe, teams that would offer me conditions close to those of Real Madrid, to fight for a league title and to be able to play in the Champions League. When the season started, there was no offer that attracted me, that would give me the opportunity to do all of this. Then there was a call from AS Monaco, and I thought it would be the perfect place. At the time, AS Monaco was a basket case. After winning Liga at the turn of the millennia, the following 2 seasons would be painfully mediocre under Claude Puel, which almost landed the club in the relegation zone. But a remarkable turnaround under young manager Didier Deschamps would have Monaco challenge for the league title in the 2002-03 season, ultimately finishing 2nd in the league, which propelled them to the heights of Champions League football. Financial difficulties saw the club amass 50 million euros worth of debt. This breach in profit and sustainability saw Monaco nearly relegated to Ligue 2. Cries and appeals were enough to avoid relegation and potential liquidation of the club, but Monaco was banned from buying players in that summer transfer window. Despite that, by working around tight regulations and through loopholes, Deschamps was able to put together a strong squad. Upon the arrival of Morientes, Didier Deschamps let him know that he would be one of the focal points of the team. While the Spaniard had always been a fantastic out-and-out goalscorer, Deschamps reinvented the striker and unearthed another layer to his game by shifting him from a center forward to a more creative role. This gave him more responsibility, acting as the attacking metronome of the team. Right from the start, he showed me confidence. I thought I was just a center forward, but he was slowly putting it into my head that I had to be a number 10 within the team. And not just because of the number, but because the team needed me to take on that role. We needed some kind of connection between the midfield and the strikers, and he made me realize that I had the perfect qualities, even if I didn't believe it. He convinced me and shaped my game that year to play in this position. Along with Morientes, Deschamps also signed 5 other players in that window, most notably Edouard Cisse from PSG, and a 19-year-old forward by the name of Emmanuel Adebayor from Metz. Additionally, they were also able to keep hold of their star attackers, such as Croatian center forward Dado Pricho, who would prove pivotal in the upcoming season. Throughout the season, Deschamps usually played a 4-4-2 formation, which consisted of a typical back 4, 2 midfield sitters, 2 wingers, and 2 forwards. The back 4 typically consisted of left back Patrice Evra, center backs Julian Rodriguez and Sebastian Squillaci, right back Gaël Givet, along with goalkeeper Flavio Roma. The defensive midfielders, any 2 of Lucas Bernardi, Atkis Zikos, or Edouard Cisse, were tasked with defensive stability, anchoring the backline and providing a springboard to attack. The wingers, typically Jerome Rathen and Ludovic Giuli, acted as creative outlets, providing goal-scoring opportunities to the strikers and progressing play from the wings. Dado Pricho was the most forward of the 2 strikers. While he wasn't the most prolific, he was a brilliant target man who excelled at finishing crosses into the box, making him particularly dangerous in the penalty area due to his positioning and ability to hold up play against defenders. He was also known for his impressive heading ability and powerful shot. And finally, there was Morientes. As I said before, Morientes was the creative attacking force on the team. He played a supporting role, using his strength, speed, movement, creativity, and control to hold up the ball for teammates, draw out the defense, bring others into the game, and facilitate scoring opportunities, along with being a ruthless goalscorer for the team. AS Monaco also had a myriad of quality substitute options waiting, including fullback Hugo Ibarra, striker Emmanuel Adebayor, and center midfielder Yaroslav Plazil. In France, Monaco would have a fantastic season, despite having a dip in form towards the end of the campaign. They would finish 3rd in Liga with 75 points, their best tally since the 1996-97 season. Morientes himself would have 15 goal contributions in 28 games, which included a hat-trick against title winners Lyon in the Coupe de France, and was included in the Liga Team of the Year. But it was in the Champions League that AS Monaco would defy the odds. In the group stage, Monaco was placed in a group containing Spanish powerhouses Deportivo de La Coruña, Greek giants AEK Athens, and Dutch champions PSV. Morientes scored a header from a Jerome Rathen free kick and assisted Edouard Cisse second to dispatch Guus Hiddink's side in Eindhoven. The Spaniard extended his tally to 3 Champions League goals by scoring a brace against AEK in a 4-0 spanking at home. Next, Monaco faced Deportivo de La Coruña. A setback in A Coruña was quickly forgotten when the Liga side thrashed the Herculeans 8-3, despite being without Morientes.
Going on here, Ludovic Giuli. He was able. Rodriguez up from the back. Arronte, Pircho! Andrade still in play, and Pircho arrives on the scene. Live wire as he tries to keep his balance. Ludovic Giuli, Dado Pircho! Well, using his head, or so he thought. It's gone in again. Looking for Pircho. Can he grab a 4th? He can! And Cisse!
This was the most spectacular Champions League victory the Principality had ever seen. Morientes soon returned, scoring the opening goal in a 1-1 draw in the reverse fixture against PSV to keep hopes of progressing to the knockouts alive. Thankfully, a goalless draw in Greece secured their position as group winners. They met Russian giants Lokomotiv Moscow in the round of 16. Under Yuri Semen, Lokomotiv were on track to reach the quarterfinals of Europe's premier club competition for the first time in their history. And it seemed that would become a reality. By the 60th minute of the first leg, Lokomotiv were already ahead 2-0 in Moscow. A late consolation by Morientes was enough for the red and whites to stay in the competition. In the second leg, despite Pricho missing an early penalty, the Croatian would redeem himself as his left-footed strike in the 60th minute was enough to see Monaco winners and have them regress to the quarterfinals due to away goals, where they would face none other than Real Madrid. As I discussed earlier, Real Madrid were in their Galacticos era, an era where they would make seemingly endless superstar signings. They were the highest spenders from 2000 to 2003 and had massive pedigree in the Champions League, having won the competition a record 9 times. They had world-class players in every position, with the squad boasting the likes of Iker Casillas, Roberto Carlos, Ronaldo, Luis Figo, Zinedine Zidane, Esteban Cambiaso, Raul, Guti, and David Beckham. To say this was a mismatch would be an understatement, and it seemed that Los Blancos would get a free pass to the semis. In the first leg, Sebastian Squillaci opened the scoring for Monaco, but Real Madrid had a response of their own. Ivan Elguerera's header gave Madrid the equalizer before goals from Zidane, Figo, and Ronaldo put Los Blancos 4-1 up. Despite a late consolation goal from Morientes to make the score 4-2, Madrid looked to progress ahead of them. But the comeback kings of Europe would not look to submit to defeat. In the second leg, despite Raul making it 5-2 on aggregate, Morientes headed the ball back to winger Ludovic Giuli, who rifled a well-timed volley to beat Casillas cleanly. 3 minutes later, Morientes would put the red and whites 2-0 up, beating the defender in the air and heading the ball into the top left corner of the net, leaving Casillas frozen. Finally, Giuli's cheeky backheel deceived Casillas and put Monaco 3-1 up. It was 5-5 on aggregate, with Monaco set to progress due to away goals. Morientes was brilliant, playing with a point to prove. The Spaniards' aggression, intelligence, and perfectly timed runs were crucial to dismantling Carlos Queiroz' side. He expertly exploited the blind side of his man. How he peeled off his marker and held back his runs into the box was crucial for Monaco controlling the game. Towards the dying minutes of the game, the Liga side was hanging on for dear life, throwing everything they had behind every tackle to keep their narrow lead. And had Raul's goal been onside, the miracle would be over. Shot after shot, Real looked to be inching closer towards goal. But by some miracle, the final whistle sounded before they could score. It was one of the greatest upsets in the history of the Champions League, and arguably the greatest comeback win in the history of AS Monaco. Morientes was in disbelief, feeling a sense of satisfaction knowing that he was an integral part of the team, and dethroned the club that spat him out. I suffered a lot at Real last year, but now I am an important player in this team. It has given me a new lease of life. But Monaco wasn't done. They faced Chelsea in the semifinals. Chelsea was a rising force, bankrolled by Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich, being the second highest spending club throughout the early 2000s. They had the likes of Crespo, Gudjonsson, Makelele, Lampard, Desailly, Terry, Duff, and Cole on their books. Monaco would end up thrashing Chelsea 5-3 on aggregate in fantastic fashion. Pritchard would open the scoring in the 17th minute, but an equalizer from Hernan Crespo would tie the match. But a 78th minute half volley by Morientes and a right-footed strike by substitute Shabani Nanda in the 83rd minute resulted in a final score of 3-1. In the second leg, when Monaco was 2-0 down, Morientes would set up Hugo Ibarra's goal before scoring the equalizer himself to make it 2-2. Unfortunately, Monaco was beaten by a freakish Porto team under Jose Mourinho. Morientes would be the Champions League top scorer with 9 goals and was voted as the UEFA Club Forward of the Year, ahead of Ronaldo, the very man who replaced Morientes at Madrid. The following season, the Spanish international returned to Madrid to be greeted by fans with mixed emotions. Some wanted his head, since it was his goals that secured Real's downfall and the best chance they had at winning a 10th Champions League. Others recognized that it was not his decision to leave, that he had been forced out by Florentino Perez and the arrival of Ronaldo, and knew that their former star was simply just doing his job as a striker. Whichever way fans sided, each knew that Morientes' time with Los Blancos was up. The Spaniard never wanted to leave Madrid, the club at which he had made his name, but when cast aside by his former club, the forward had no choice but to move on from the club he seemed to love the most. But in a weird twist of fortune, Morientes would be the victor. The Spanish international joined Liverpool not long after, followed by Valencia and Marseille, winning the Liga title, UEFA Super Cup, FA Cup, the Copa del Rey, and the Coupe de la Ligue, and playing a role in Liverpool's 2005 Champions League upset. In his later years, as his pace diminished, he would act as more of a provider rather than scorer, which worked to devastating effect. Real Madrid would end up becoming trophyless in the next 3 seasons that followed, despite their record-breaking signings and endless resources. Los Blancos would have to eventually complete a painful and costly rebuild, being a shadow of the team they once were. They would massively underperform in multiple competitions, and would be frequently humiliated by arch-rivals Barcelona, who were at the peak of their powers, having unprecedented dominance over Spanish and European football. Monaco would continue to be stalwarts in Liga before getting relegated to Ligue 2 in 2011. They had since been promoted back and even won the Liga title in the 2016-17 season. While he only played 1 season with Monaco, he certainly left his mark on that unforgettable campaign. He was adored by the fans and respected by teammates alike, igniting a sense of passion and joy that the Principality had never experienced before. Despite Monaco's loss to Porto in the final, the night when Morientes stepped up to clinch victory for the Monegasques against a star-studded Real Madrid side would be remembered forever on the French Riviera and would go down as one of the greatest revenge stories in the history of football.